going to be making an apple pie today. Now I love a good apple pie and that's what we're going to be making today. Nice and simple recipe. We're going to make our own pastry, our own filling, so it's all homemade and delicious. So for making up this apple pie, I just want to quickly go through the ingredients we're going to use. Now for making the pastry, I've got 225 grams of butter. Now let your butter at room temperature so it's a little bit softer, easier to use. Then we've got 50 grams of caster sugar. Now I've got 2 eggs. For the pastry I'm going to use 1 whole egg plus 1 egg yolk. I'm going to separate one of the eggs and keep the white for something else. So 1 whole egg plus 1 egg yolk. 350 grams of plain flour. So that's for making up the pastry, nice and simple. And then you've got your filling. Now for the filling, I'm going to use cooking apples because they really are the best for making apple pies. The ones I'm going to use are Bramley apples. I find those really good. These are pretty much Bramley apples except for these 2, which happen to be Granny Smiths, just to make up, you know, the weight, the right amount for my dish really. So 1.2 kilograms of cooking apples. Then I've got my caster sugar, 140 grams. We've got some plain flour, just to slightly thicken it, 30 grams. And 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. So there's all the ingredients, nice and simple. Now what we're going to do first of all is to go and make the pastry. So I've got myself a bowl and we're going to make up this pastry. So I'm going to start off with the butter. As I say, try and use butter at room temperature. Then I'm just going to add the sugar, the caster sugar. Now you could mix this by hand, but obviously if you've got an electric mixer, makes your life easier. I'm going to use my electric mixer. So let's just start off on a slow speed. And you want to just get this butter and sugar kind of mixed together really. So you don't need to do a lot of mixing, just until you've got it mixed up really. I think that'll do it. And next of all I'm going to put 1 egg plus 1 egg yolk extra. So put that in. Try not to get any shell. Now we've got to separate the egg yolk from the white, so give it a good tap, break it apart, and you can just kind of let it ooze out of the crack and rock it from side to side. That'll do. So I've got the egg white there and we've got the egg yolk there. Now I'll move that aside. I'll be using that later for just brushing over the pastry, you know, before we put it in the oven. Now again, I'm going to get my mixer and we're just going to give it a quick mix again. So again, do it on a slow speed. There you go, I think that'll do us. I've been doing that just for about a minute, so you don't need to do too much, just for about a minute. Now to add the flour, I'm just going to do that with a wooden spoon. So, whoops, just add that in. Not all, just add a little bit and then we can kind of just work it a little bit together. Again, do a bit more. You can do it in 4 or 5 batches, add it a bit at a time. And just keep doing that until you've got it all in there. I think I'm going to pull that off there and get stuck in now with my hands. Because your hands are going to warm it up slightly with the butter, so it should all come together nicely into a little ball. I think that'll pretty much do it. So just give it a squash. And then we're going to put this in a bit of cellophane and leave it in the fridge. Just to cool down and firm up a little bit. And then we can roll it out. So there you go. Done. So I'm just going to wrap it up in cellophane, so let's just move that out of the way. Grab that, pop that in. So put it in the fridge, I'd say for about 45 minutes. It can be in there a bit longer, but 45 minutes should be good. So now we've got the pastry wrapped up in the fridge, chilling out. Leave that for about 45 minutes. So now we've got plenty of time for doing the filling. Now the filling is so simple, it really is as easy as pie. So I'm going to bring myself a bowl. And then what I'm going to do is just add the sugar, the cinnamon and the flour. And then really that is your sort of coating, apart from obviously the apples. So just mix this up with the hands. That's it. Look at that. Simple. So let's move the bowl aside, get me apples, and I'm going to start peeling them and slicing them. So now we've peeled the apples, I'm going to cut them all into quarters. So cut them in half, and then cut them in another quarter. And once you've done that, then we've got to take out the core. Just try and get a bit out. And any of those sort of bad bits. That one's done. And again, just carry on doing all the rest. That's it. Just on my last one. There you go. Got those ready to go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on a little bit of paper tissue. So get myself a little tray, and I'm just going to try and dry them off thoroughly. And again, I'm just going to spread those out. Kind of separate them a little bit. And again, a little bit of paper tissue on top. That's it. Now I'm just going to put that aside, and once the pastry's had its 45 minutes, we're going to pull it out and start rolling out the pastry. Now the next thing I'm going to do is butter up the dish that we're going to use for making this apple pie. Now choose your dish and make sure it's big enough to take all the apples that you're going to put in there. Now I've chosen to use this one. This sort of one you might use for like flans or for a quiche, but any pie dish, just make sure it's, you know, it's big enough for all the apples. Now I'm just going to butter the inside of this, so just a little bit, just to make sure it's not going to stick. That's it. Put a little bit on top there as well. So it's time to roll out the pastry. Now I've waited about 45 minutes. You can wait a little bit longer, it doesn't matter too much. Now I'm going to put some flour, just dust off the surface a little bit, just so the pastry doesn't stick. So I've got the pastry there. Now I'm just going to unwrap that. That's it. Now I'm actually going to cut it into 1/3 and 2/3, because one's going to be the topping and the other one's the base, and we need slightly more for the base. So if I do it roughly about there, that'll do it. Now the little piece, that's going to be the topping. I'm just going to grab that. Just wrap it back in that cellophane. Just leave that aside. Now let's just give it a squash. We can start, get a bit of flour on there. And I'm going to get my rolling pin, and again just a little bit of flour on the rolling pin, doesn't hurt. A little bit on top. And we just want to roll it out. Now when you roll this out, roll it out bigger than the actual dish. So just keep, you know, rolling it until it goes bigger than the dish. Now I've got my pastry and it's rolled out bigger than the dish, so that's what you want. Now if we're really careful, that's it, be careful. I should be able to just carefully pull that on. Now let's just put it back in view again. And what you want to do is just let it drop into the bottom of the dish. And very gently you can push it into the flutes as well, but make sure it's pressed down on the base. Now I've pressed it all the way on the inside, I'm just going to trim off, keep that bit of pastry in case you need it. I'm just going to trim all the way around the edge, but don't, you know, cut it too short. Now in the bottom there, I'm just going to repair that. Just put a little splodge, just to make sure there's enough thickness there. They won't see it. And there you go, that is ready to go. Now I'm going to go and get my apple and that bowl with the sort of cinnamon, sugar and flour, and we're going to mix those together, and then we can put it inside. So let's peel off the paper, because that's kind of done its job. And I'm just going to put the apple in there. Now obviously it helps if you've used a bowl big enough, hopefully this will be. There you go, just get those last ones. Now I'm just going to get my hands in there, because I want to just get the apple all coated with that mix. So I've got the apple and it's all coated with that mixture. So like I say, a big bowl will be a big help to really get your hands in there and sort of make sure it's all nicely coated. But I've done mine, it's ready to go. So now I've finished with the apple, let's move that bowl out of the way. And I'm just going to put the pastry in its dish there, and we're going to put in all the apple and just fill it up. So let's get on with that. Just get it in there to start with, kind of spread it around a little bit. That's it, just try and flatten it out, squash it down, that's it, looks good. So now we've got all the apple in there, I'm just going to move that dish aside because we need to finish with actually rolling out the last bit of the pastry, and then we can decorate the top of the pie. Just put a little bit of flour. And then let's get that pastry we have left over, that was the bit we had left. And also some of these scraps, might as well use those as well. So just kind of give it a quick squash together, and then we can start rolling it out. Now you can either roll this out so it goes completely over the top, and you put 4 or 5 slits to let the air out, or what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to make mine into strips and lay strips across. Now to cut the strips you could use a knife, which might mark your table. I'm going to use a pizza cutter. So let's just, depends how wide you want them. Let's just trim that one up a little bit. Now let's just get the first one on there. Now, because it's a slightly smaller one, I'm just going to put it on the outside edge. Maybe put it there actually. I'm going to keep these little bits because just in case we need a little bit more. And again, just cut another strip. Carry on doing that until you've gone all the way. Now I'm also going to be going across as well. So I think if we lay one in the middle. There you go. Let's bring that into view. Lovely pie. Now we need to just put a little bit of water to sort of join these edges and just fold the edges up a little bit. So I'll just go around and do that. There you go, done the water. Now I'm just going to tidy up the edges because they look a little bit scruffy at the moment, so let's just kind of grab that all together really. Just kind of seal it down. Squash those little bits. Tuck them in. So I've just gone round the edge, sort of crimped it, squashed it a little bit, just to tidy up the edges. I think that looks a lot better. Now again, let's just push these down as well. And then I've got that egg white. Remember that one? We split the egg. Just give that a quick whisk up. Just do it with a fork. Now I'm just going to use the egg white. Like one of these brushes, like a silicone brush, just to brush the outside of the pastry. So just carry on doing that until all the pastries got a little bit of egg. So now we've got the egg on there. Now next I'm going to use a little bit of brown sugar because I just want to give it just a little sprinkling. And then lastly, I'm just going to use a little bit of nutmeg. Now I've got a whole nutmeg and I'm just going to go over the top just a little bit just to give it that extra flavour. Almost make it a bit Christmassy as well. There you go. That looks delicious. Now I'm going to get my oven preheated and put this in the oven. Now remember, temperature wise, 180 degrees Celsius, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 4. Now I would say you want to cook for roughly about 45 minutes or until it's got a nice golden brown colour on the pastry. So have a check around about sort of 40 minutes and you might have to take it out just shortly after that. So about 45 minutes. So I've been cooking the apple pie for a total of 50 minutes. So I had a quick peek at 45 minutes and decided just to leave it another 5 minutes just to get a little bit more of the sort of golden brown colour on the pastry. But you know, obviously check yours at 45 and if it needs 5-10 minutes more, cook as you need to. So let's have a look at it. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Looks really nice. I'm going to pull that out, put that on the table, and just going to let it cool down for a little while, and then we're obviously going to try some. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut a slice out, a nice big slice. So I'm going to get myself a plate next to it, and I think I'll go just along there. And I think go along there as well. Just trying to make sure I've cut right through the pastry. Oh. This is where it could go horribly wrong, but right, let's try and get it out of there. So I've got my apple pie served up. Now I'm going to serve mine a bit of ice cream. Where should I put that? I think I'm going to put the ice cream there. And also, I mean, you don't have to. You could have, you know, nice bit of custard. Cold custard or warm custard. Just going to put a little bit there. Beautiful. Oh. So let's just give that a try and see how it is. So I'm just going to get stuck in. I think I want a bit of the pastry, some of the juice. Oh yeah. Let's just try that. That apple is delicious. Still got a bit of crunch to it, not too much. Got the cinnamon, a little bit of sharpness, of sweet, just beautiful. And with that pastry as well, that pastry, oh lovely. A bit more of that, gotta try it. This is really delicious. You've got to go and make this. And it's all homemade, you've got your own pastry, very simple to prepare. Lovely. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, and a happy new year to everyone. See you on the next video, the original Naked Chef. Just got to dive in one more time for that. Oh, delish.